They moved in under the cover of chaos. But their first targets weren't soldiers, tanks, or military bases. They went after something far more powerful: faith itself. American ministers and religious leaders found themselves caught in the crossfire of a conflict far larger than anyone understood. Behind the smoke and the blood, an invisible war is being fought, a war where ideology is distorted. Faith is turned into a weapon, and propaganda spreads like wildfire across borders and continents. This is no ordinary battlefield. It's a carefully engineered trap. And the most dangerous players aren't distant enemies. They're far closer to home than you realize.
American evangelical ministers, which is one of the reasons why it's kind of just a shade in the background. It's people using religion as a cover to do horrible things. Not that we've ever seen that before. But the reason it's worth talking about is not only are some of these people very well placed within the current administration, but there's a lot of overlap between Christian ultra-nationalism and Russian propaganda these days. The Russians are very well aware of this trend, and they've worked to encourage it across Europe and the United States for quite some time, and a lot of their useful idiots throughout the U.S.
Zeihan explains that modern conflicts are no longer fought solely with guns and tanks. They are fought in hearts, minds, and networks of influence. Religious extremism becomes a tool rather than just a belief system, something foreign powers can exploit to destabilize states from within. The boundaries between ideology, politics, and warfare are dissolving, and the consequences are profound and far-reaching. What Peter Zeihan warned about was not theoretical. It wasn't distant or abstract. When ideology hardens into aggression and systems rot from inside, the consequences don't arrive quietly. They arrive with explosions, fire, and panic. And now that collapse is a name, a location, and a smoking crater. While Moscow clings to the illusion of control, reality has struck again. Deep inside occupied territory. This time, it hit one of Russia's most critical military nerve centers. As the holiday season unfolds, the Russian military isn't finding rest or relief. Instead, it is enduring a relentless chain of disasters that refuse to end. Russian aircraft continue to burn. Russian vessels continue to disappear. And once again, Ukrainian long-range drones return to Belbek Air Base in temporarily occupied Crimea, delivering devastation with precision and intent. This was no random strike. This was strategy unfolding exactly as designed. Belbek Air Base, one of Russia's primary launch platforms for attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, was hit again. This time, two Su-27 fighter jets were destroyed. -2, one of them fully armed, fueled, and ready to carry out future attacks that would have brought destruction to Ukrainian cities. That aircraft never left the ground. And because of that, countless lives were spared. The timing makes the strike even more significant. Just days earlier, Ukrainian drones had already hit Belbek, destroying key radar and radiolocation systems. Those systems were meant to detect incoming threats and shield the base from attack. Ukraine blinded the defenses first. Then, after those eyes were gone, Ukrainian drones returned calmly and deliberately to finish the job. This isn't chaos. It's methodical warfare. And the message to Russian command is unmistakable. Even after being hit, warned, and given time to recover, they still cannot protect their most critical assets. Ukrainian drones returned to the same location within days, and once again, Russia failed to stop them. That failure speaks volumes. In a single week, at the same air base on different days, Ukraine destroyed 2 Su-27s and 1 MiG-31. 3 combat aircraft eliminated at a location that was supposedly fortified, defended, and secure. The conclusion is unavoidable. Russian air defense at Belbek is effectively absent, and this goes beyond aircraft alone. On December 18th, Ukrainian drones also destroyed a MiG-31 at Belbek, along with radar systems tied to advanced air defense networks, including installations connected to S-400 systems. The implications for Russian military planning are severe. Every time Russia moves additional air defenses into Crimea to protect what remains, Ukraine simply destroys them closer to the front line. Russia reinforces. Ukraine dismantles. It's a trap, and Russia keeps walking into it. Belbek has long served as a staging ground for attacks on Ukrainian civilians. The aircraft stationed there weren't symbolic. They were instruments of terror. By eliminating them before they can even take off, Ukraine isn't just winning tactical victories. It's saving lives. And this is part of a much broader collapse. One of Ukraine's greatest achievements in this war has been the rapid dismantling of Russia's military aviation. Entire segments of Russian air power have been erased. One major operation alone eliminated at least 1/3 of Russia's strategic, cruise missile carriers. That achievement will be studied for decades, not as theory, but as a real-world case study in how intelligence, technology, and precision can allow a smaller force to dismantle a larger one. But the losses don't end there. Week after week, Ukrainian forces conduct relentless cleanup operations. Russian aircraft are lost not only to Ukrainian strikes, but also to Russia's own negligence, maintenance failures, logistical breakdowns, and inability to sustain complex systems under sanctions and prolonged war. Now, the cracks are spreading beyond the military. Russia's civilian aviation sector is deteriorating as well. Aircraft are grounded. Spare parts are unavailable. Safety margins are eroding. This slow decay may yet become the trigger for something far larger, the unraveling of the Russian Federation itself. History has seen this pattern before. The collapse of the Soviet Union followed a similar trajectory: military exhaustion, economic strain, public dissatisfaction, and systemic failure. The warning signs are already visible. Russia does not possess infinite resources, no matter how forcefully the Kremlin promotes that illusion. Many Russian soldiers joined the war not out of ideology, but financial desperation. Now, dozens of Russian regions are being forced to slash promised payments to recruits. Incentives are shrinking. Desperation is growing. Even inside Russia, questions are becoming harder to suppress. During Putin's recent address, an unthinkable comparison surfaced publicly. Why has a so-called special military operation, once promised as a swift victory, lasted longer than the war against Nazi Germany? Just years ago, that question would have been unutterable. Today, it's being asked openly. And the pressure is no longer limited to land and air. A third sea has entered the battlefield. First, Russian forces lost any sense of security in the Sea of Azov. Then the Black Sea became a death trap. Now even the Caspian Sea, once considered distant and untouchable, is no longer safe. In a single week, 3 oil and gas platforms in the Caspian were neutralized. Among them were platforms linked to Lukoil, once symbols of Russia's immense wealth. Now reminders of how war drains even the richest empires. A Russian patrol vessel was also targeted, further weakening defensive coverage. The implications are enormous. The Caspian was long considered difficult to reach. That assumption no longer holds. Ukrainian technology is evolving rapidly, month by month. What was once unreachable is now exposed. Ukraine understands something fundamental. Peace cannot be negotiated with a fully armed aggressor. The only viable path is demilitarization. Expose the weaknesses, dismantle machinery of war, and then pursue justice. As Russia weakens externally, internal shifts are underway. Suppressed nations within the Russian Federation are watching closely, planning and preparing for a future where Moscow no longer dictates their fate. This mirrors the years leading up to the Soviet collapse, when fractures formed long before the final break. The true danger isn't dissolution itself. The danger lies in allowing unchecked power to remain in the hands of leaders as the system collapses around them. As failures accumulate, dissatisfaction spreads, and unrest simmers beneath the surface, one thing is becoming clear: time is running out. Belbek Air Base is no longer just a military installation. It is a symbol of Russian vulnerability, Ukrainian precision, and a war that is no longer unfolding according to the Kremlin script. Russia sought dominance. Instead, it achieved exposure.